developing and overseeing the implementation of NASA's vision for UAP research. We will use NASA's expertise to work with other agencies to analyze UAP. We will use AI and machine learning to search the skies for anomalies, as we have been searching the heavens and will continue to search the heavens for habitability. And NASA will do this transparently. So while today is a significant step for NASA, it's certainly not our final step. And we're going to share more with you. And I want to introduce you to Dr. Nikki Fox, who is the head of our Science Mission Directorate. Nikki.
Welcome, everyone. This is live.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Administrator Nelson. It's always tough to follow Bill. He's such a great speaker. But I want to thank the independent study team for their amazing service on the study and for their continued contributions towards the advancement of our nation's understanding of unidentified anomalous phenomena. UAP, as Bill just eloquently said, UAP are one of our planet's greatest mysteries, and it's really due to the limited number of high-quality data that surrounds such incidents and often renders them unidentifiable. While there are numerous eyewitness accounts and visuals associated with UAP, they're not consistent, they're not detailed, and they're not curated observations that can be used to make definitive scientific conclusions about the nature and the origin of UAP. The language of scientists is data, and data points towards a scientific conclusion to what the nature and the origin of UAP could be. That leads us to why we're here today. The independent study team's report is now public, and it can be found at science.nasa.gov/UAP. While NASA is still working to evaluate the report and to assess the independent study team's findings and recommendations, NASA is committed to immediately contributing to the federal government's unified UAP effort. And as you heard, we have appointed a director of UAP research. In their role, they will centralize communications, resources, and data analytical capabilities across the federal government to establish a robust database for the evaluation of any future data. Additionally, our Director of UAP Research will also leverage NASA's expertise in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and space-based observation tools that will support and enhance the broader government initiative into UAP. They will serve as NASA's point of contact for government entities, but especially for the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. And this will ensure our coordinated efforts and effective communication channels. Beyond our Director of UAP Research, NASA will also advance citizen reporting by working with the public and commercial pilots to collect a broader set of data to add to the vast data repositories to not only contribute to a broader, more reliable data set for future UAP incidents, but to also contribute to the destigmatization of the important study of UAPs. And with that, it is my great pleasure to hand over to Dr. Dan Evans, who is the NASA official responsible for supporting this amazing study.
Good morning. I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere thanks to NASA Administrator Bill Nelson for directing this study. We at NASA believe that understanding UAP is vital for several reasons. First and foremost, it provides an opportunity for us to expand our understanding of the world around us. At NASA, we are committed to charting the uncharted, so this work aligns with who we are. Secondly, this study aims to enhance situational awareness. The presence of UAP raises serious concerns about the safety of our skies, And it's this nation's obligation to determine whether these phenomena pose any potential risks to airspace safety. Let's not forget that the first A in NASA is aeronautics. So by understanding the nature of UAP, we can ensure that our skies remain a safe space for all. Administrator Nelson directed us to put together an independent and external team of world-leading experts to produce a report containing a roadmap with a series of recommendations that describe how NASA could best help in the cross-government response to UAP. Months of meticulous fact-finding, cross-disciplinary collaboration, and scientific rigor gave the team insights that will greatly enhance our nation's understanding of UAP going forward. The team's report, now available on NASA's website, stands as a testament to NASA's and the team's commitment to transparency, to the power of science, and to the unwavering quest for knowledge. We at NASA believe that studying UAP represents an exciting step forward in our journey to uncover the mysteries of the world around us. By embracing a scientific lens, we have ensured that our work is evidence-based and data-driven. And by valuing transparency and openness, we have aimed to foster trust and collaboration with the public. I'd like to conclude by extending my deepest gratitude to the team for their incredible dedication and service. Their efforts have been instrumental, and I truly appreciate the expertise and commitment that each of them have brought to this endeavor. And with that, I'll pass over to Dr. David Spergel, who chaired our study.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to the NASA administrator for entrusting us with this pivotal study. Your faith in our capabilities has been a driving force behind the panel's approach. The panel's comprehensive study into unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, has led to several crucial findings, and I'd like to elucidate on our methodology and those findings this morning. We began by rigorously assessing the current state of UAP data. Our goal was not to repeat the work of the Arrow, but to understand the nature of the reports. Our goal was to produce a roadmap for NASA to contribute to the understanding of the nature of UAP events. We looked at NASA's assets. While they provide a comprehensive picture of the ocean, the Earth's surface and atmosphere for studying our evolving planet, they typically do not have the resolution needed for UAP events. However, by providing data on environmental conditions, they can complement other data on UAP. The current approach to UAP data collection has led to a limited sample of events and limited data. Stigma has limited reporting by pilots, both civilian and military, so we know there's missing data. For its analysis in other areas, NASA always takes a scientific approach of systematic data collection that involves calibrating instruments, multiple measurements, and ensuring sensor metadata. Most UAP events lack this quality of data. One of NASA's contribution to the broader governmental effort to bring these methodologies to create a data set is to bring these methodologies to create a data set that's both reliable and extensive. And once we have a large sample of well-characterized events, AI and ML tools, which are proving to be powerful in so many other applications, will likely prove helpful in identifying interesting anomalies. It is essential to clarify, based on our current findings and methodology, that we find no evidence to suggest that UAP are extraterrestrial in origin. Our focus is on understanding the phenomenon, however, regardless of the source. And previous work from the Arrow has shown that most events are explainable as planes, balloons, drones, weather phenomena, and instrument features. And in any search for interesting anomalies, the first step is to eliminate the chaff of conventional events before moving on to identify novel phenomena. In this, the public's role cannot be overstated. The panel envisioned a framework that leverages crowdsourcing, possibly via smartphone applications, to capture a broader spectrum of data, ensuring more eyes and ears on the ground. Lastly, we delved into the safety concerns UAP present within U.S. airspace. By integrating UAP collection within our current aviation reporting system, the panel believes we can provide insights into potential safety risks. NASA can reduce the stigma associated with pilots reporting anomalies, and fundamentally, by studying events we don't understand, we advance our understanding. So in conclusion, with a rigorous methodology, collaborative efforts, public engagement, NASA can be a key player in the whole of government approach to understanding UAP. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers. We will start taking questions. For those in the room, we have a microphone over here that we would ask you to speak into. We will also be alternating with questions from those on the phone line. For those of you who are in the phone line, please press *1 to get onto the queue. We will try to answer as many as we can today. We'll see how it goes. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. This is directed to Mr. Nelson. Thank you for being here. Two quick questions. One is, how can we make the determination of what something isn't when we don't know what it is? And B, after a careful review of the data, if it's determined that some, underline the word some 10 times, UFOs or UAP originate from a non-human intelligence, what's the plan to disclose that to the public?
And can you identify yourself, please?
James Fox. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and what outlet?
Independent media. Thank you.
Well, let me repeat.
It's on.
Let me repeat what I said. I think it's important that you hear this word for word. The NASA independent study team did not find any evidence that UAP have an extraterrestrial origin, but we don't know what these UAP are. The mission of NASA is to find out the unknown. I've said several times in my comments here today that we, NASA, deal openly and we will be transparent on this. And we're trying to address the question of there's so much concern that there's something locked up, classified, and that the American government is not being open. Well, we are the American government and we are open, and we're going to be open about this. We don't, again, I'm going to repeat that statement, but we don't know what these UAP are, but we're going to try to find out.
Thank you very much. And is there a plan in place if it is determined that some of them represent or originate from a non-human intelligence to tell the public? Is there a plan, or?
If we are what I said we intend to be, which is transparent, you bet your boots. We will say that. And I've tried to set the table for you by telling you what I personally believe in a universe that is so vast that could there be a replication of life on Earth elsewhere in another solar system that is so big? Of course I believe that. The distances, it would have to be a very advanced civilization. The distances, light years, hundreds of light years, billions of light years. But whatever we find, we're going to tell you.
Thank you very much.
Great. And we'll move on to the next question. Please do identify yourself.
Thanks. This is Joey Roulette from Reuters. Question for Bill Nelson or any of the other panelists. So you've appointed a director of UAP research. Have you named someone to that role? And what kind of investment are you considering making in this? Is this going to be a new program office? Have you thought of funding figures, et cetera? Thanks.
Yes, we have. We've already appointed the person. They've been working there for a while now, like during this study to help be a point of contact. And any budget discussions, of course, are part of a very intricate federal budget request, and so they're not something that we discuss openly. But we will certainly look at what resources need to be allocated.
Can you name the official who's?
We will not give his name out now.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We'll take another one from in the room.
Hello, Dan Rivers from British broadcaster ITV News. I heard the word stigma mentioned several times, that you want to remove the stigma. Is your message to pilots and other people that this is no longer the preserve of cranks, and that you won't be laughed at, and that you will take them seriously? Is that the takeaway?
That is exactly the message. I mean, at NASA, we're scientists. We love data. We love all data. And if there is something that needs to be reported, and we want people to be able to feel that they can report that. We spoke in the open hearing that we had here just a few months ago. Dan, remind me when it was?
May 31st.
May 31st. And we actually talked then about we wanted to remove the stigma, and we also did not tolerate any of the abuse that some of our members of the panel were receiving, particularly on social media, for doing this really important scientific study. So absolutely, we want pilots and both, as Bill said, both private pilots, commercial pilots, military pilots, to feel that if they see something, they need to report it.
I want to say, and I want to repeat the way I said it, we want to shift the conversation about UAPs from sensationalism to science.
I think of this in terms of the signs we see around for security, which say, if you see something, say something. I think in this context, we would summarize it as, if you see something, collect high quality data on it, because then we can learn.
If I may, I just noticed in the report the Go Fast incident was one that was picked out, and that had been held up as an example of a very credible sighting that you seem to be pouring doubt on. Can you just talk to that?
I mean, we looked at that as one example, and I think this is something that Arrow has actually done a very good job of going through the events. And most events are going to turn out, even if there are some events that in the end turn out to be something novel, most events are going to turn out to be conventional things, balloons, airplanes, and so on. I think of the process of discovery of anomalies as looking for a needle in a haystack. And if you want to find a needle in a haystack, you've got two choices. Either you know exactly what the needle looks like, and you design a very good filter to look for the needle. It's called match filtering in sort of AI work, machine learning, signal processing. Or you don't know what you're looking for. And with anomalies, that's really the case we're in. We're looking for things we don't understand. So if you want to find something strange in a haystack, you better know exactly what hay looks like. And you better be able to characterize that really well. And that's why in a process like this, and this is something that I think we bring to this as we look for anomalies, is you need to know what typical regular things look like under all conditions. You need to know what balloons look like when pilots see them, so under unusual conditions, so that you can eliminate those events. And that's why in identifying anomalies, understanding the normal is a very important part of it, and understanding that under different observing conditions and collecting data in a uniform way. I mean, this is what we do when we study anomalies in space science or other areas of science. And what we're trying to do is bring this approach to this field by saying, collect high quality data, understand the normal events, and that's how we move things forward.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next question, please.
Hello, I'm Nomia Iqbal from BBC News. Just to follow up on the stigma question, UAP, that term has been, used in part to destigmatize UFOs. The fact is, most people use UFOs. Most of the American public, most of the world use that term. So I wonder, how much is the stigma still a problem for you, and what are you practically doing to about it, really, to convince people? And my second very quick question: in your report, I noticed that you said AI is a very essential tool for identifying rare occurrences. Yesterday, we were at this big AI summit where you had 100 senators meeting all the big tech tycoons, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. And speaking to some senators afterwards, they said, we are concerned about AI, we need it to be regulated. Does that concern you? Are you worried that it might hamper your work? Thank you very much.
Well, two big questions. First of all, do I personally believe that AI needs to have some boundaries? The answer to that, for our existentialism, yes. Can you do that within the appropriate bounds so that, as I said in my remarks, that we're going to utilize AI as one of the tools as we search for what is an answer to the UAP. And so, no, I don't think that any attempts that the Congress has underway to try to write a law that would appropriately put guardrails around AI for other reasons is in any way going to inhibit us from utilizing the tools of AI to help us in our quest on this specific issue. Now, what was your other question?
Just how do you destigmatize the whole thing? Because I know you call it UAPs, but people don't refer it to in that way.
Yeah. Well, there's a mindset. We all are entertained by Indiana Jones in the Amazon and finding the crystal skull. So there's a lot of folklore out there. That's why we entered the stage, the arena, to try to get into this from a science point.
I think you can blame the X-Files for a lot of this as well.
That possibly too, but just remember what I said. We NASA are trying to shift it from sensationalism to science.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And we do have a long line in the room, but I want to give a couple chances to some people on the phone line. So I'm going to go to the phone for our first question there. Please do introduce yourself and ask your question. The phone, can you hear me?
Our first question is from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press. Your line is open.
Yes, hi, Marcia Dunn, AP. I'm already receiving emails on Area 51 in Roswell, so I would like to ask Mr. Sperkel, how much were you and your fellow panel members hassled or bombarded by this sort of thing during the course of your study? And for NASA, are you not naming the director of UAP research for this very reason, so that they're not hassled and bombarded by the fringe element? Thanks.
No, I would divide kind of emails and tweets into two types, right? There's some where people honestly are curious about things they've seen, they've heard. There are things that are hard to respond to, like my uncle who's dead saw something strange, and you get a report. And that's not useful, but that's harmless. On the other hand, one of the things that happened during the study, and this may be part of a bigger discussion of cultural behavior on social media, where people behave badly, and I would say harassed some of our panel members. And that, I think, was very inappropriate behavior one doesn't want to see. Sadly, I think it's part of a deeper problem when people somehow feel on the web, on social media, they can be nasty and hostile, and sadly, some of our panel members experience that.
Yeah, I would just simply add to that to say that not only were some of the things that our panel members received during the course of this study simple trolling, some of them actually rose to actual threats. And as a result, we at NASA take the sanctity of the scientific process and the security and safety of our team extremely seriously. And yes, that's in part why we are not splashing the name of our new director out there, because science needs to be free. Science needs to undergo a real and rigorous and rational process, and you need the freedom of thought to be able to do that. Some of the threats and the harassment have been beyond the pale, quite frankly, towards some of our panelists. And yes, it's important that science be free as part of that process.
Thank you so much. We will go to another question on the phone, please. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Our next question comes from Tom Clark with Sky News London. Your line is open.
Oh, hi there. Thank you very much for taking my question. I want to understand how much, you won't give us an idea of money, but how many assets or new research programs will be devoted to this by the administration. Because it strikes me that although the argument for aviation safety is clear, there are other departments and agencies responsible for that particular thing. And as the report concludes, the likelihood of there being extraterrestrial explanations or truly scientific explanations for many of these phenomena is very, very small. Shouldn't NASA devote its research budgets and its efforts to those much more likely and tangible signs of extraterrestrial life through things like the James Webb Space Telescope or extrasolar planets detection?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So yes, obviously we don't discuss budget openly, but we are committed to supporting the whole of government study into UAP. All of our data are open. In fact, if you look at the report, you'll see a very large sort of background material or supplemental material in there, because we literally released everything, because that's what we do at NASA. We do have our key agency goals. We have obviously our goals in the Science Mission Directorate, our themes that we follow, and one of those, as the administrator described, is the search for life elsewhere. And we do that, and he described the research beautifully. I think he may be going for my job, actually, but he described the research so well that what we need to find is a rocky planet around a hospitable star that isn't too violent, that is in just that right place, that has signatures of water and signatures of carbon, so the building blocks of life. And we continue to strive to do that. We do that with the James Webb Telescope. We'll be doing that when we launch the Nancy Grace Roman Telescope, that even has a coronagraph around it to block out the light of the neighboring stars and really let us look at those possible planets. And then beyond that, the next big telescope recommended by the Astrophysics Decadal is the Habitable Worlds Observatory, actually a mission designed to look for hospitable and find like Earth 2.0 in another stellar system. And so they really are in the forefront of our goals at NASA. So thanks so much for the question.
I'm going to ask.
Just jump in to clarify something. Will you be devoting any new resource or research projects to this particular aim then, given that's where the interesting questions really are? Should NASA spend time and budget pursuing the much less likely task of finding signs of extraterrestrial life in small objects within or close to the Earth's atmosphere?
So, I mean, most of obviously our instruments are designed to look for the phenomena that we study at NASA. If any of our data are useful, if any of our data are applicable, then we absolutely will be devoting that and turning that over through our liaison to the whole of government approach. We are not at this time intending to design a mission to do this. That is not part of our kind of overarching NASA direction. We are looking at providing some research support. So if somebody wants to write a research proposal, send it in through the regular channels. We will be looking for ways to do that. And we also talked about supporting sort of the citizen science and the broader like repository of data. Dan, do you want to add to that?
NASA's data are free and publicly accessible for the entire world to download. And we pride ourselves on that fact. And it's this openness of data and our approach, which is why we're all here today. To answer your specific question about devoting research budgets to the potentially truly interesting ones, well, I think as David said, you have to understand the chaff in order to really understand and pinpoint the potentially interesting ones, okay? So we are in such a data poor regime at the moment that we need to turn it into a data rich one to do that. And we employ NASA's assets, many other partners' assets as well in that quest.
And if your question suggests, and I do not know that it does, but if it suggests that NASA ought to keep its nose out of this, well, let me tell you, NASA is not a place that's going to hide its head in the sand. Now, is there interest in this phenomenon in other agencies? In my previous life in the Senate, I was privy to talk to the Navy pilots and to see the video of what they encountered off the coast of California in 2004. That was in a classified setting then. But this is now. And you have now seen that video. And you have heard from those former Navy pilots. Is that of a concern to the Department of Defense? Of course it is. Therefore, we're going to continue our search from a scientific point of view. It's going to be, if those other agencies continued their search, we're going to be glad to join in with them. But our stuff is going to be open.
Great. I'm going to take one more from the phone before we go back to the floor. We have a lot of questions. I'm going to hope we can stick to sort of one per person and see how many we can get through. So one more from the phone, please.
Our next question comes from Jeff Faust with Space News. Your line is open.
Hi. I know the press release states that NASA is still evaluating the independent study team's report and its recommendations. Does NASA plan to publish a formal response to the report and its recommendations? And if so, what timeline can we expect to see that?
So let me give you a quick preview about how this works. So we have only very, very recently received the report, and what you have seen today in our press release represents our initial actions in recognition of the urgency of this matter. And yes, we will be following up as appropriate with additional actions, yes, the recommendations, and act on them in light of budget and many other priorities. But we'll be announcing more in the future.
Great, thank you. Please, back to the room. Identify yourself too, please.
Good morning, Sam Cabral with BBC News Digital. We've been talking a lot about shift from sensationalism to science today. Has NASA been in touch with the Mexican authorities about the rather sensational revelations earlier this week of 2 allegedly non-human corpses? And what, if any, importance do you attach to these discoveries?
I think David had a prep for that one.
Well, this is something that I know I've only seen on Twitter. So it's, when we have unusual things, you want to make data public. I think of this as like NASA has one of the most valuable samples from outer space, lunar rocks. What do? We make them available to any scientists who want to work on this. We don't know the nature of those samples that were shown in front of them. If I was the Mexican government, I would are making recommendations to the Mexican government. That's not our charge here. We're doing this for NASA. My recommendation was, if you have something strange, make samples available to the world scientific community, and we'll see what's there.
I'll just add that one of the main goals of what we're trying to do here today is to move conjecture and conspiracy towards science and sanity. And you do that with data, as David says. And that's the whole purpose of this study and this roadmap.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Brandy Vincent from Defense Scoop. Thank you all for doing this. I actually have 2 lines of questions, if it's okay. First, for Ms. Fox, what's the timeline and immediate actions that NASA is pursuing specifically with Arrow now that the report has been completed? And what mechanisms are NASA and DoD really using to share information and collaborate securely? And do you see more coming? And then separately, for Mr. Spergel, I noticed in the final report, a lot of the images and media that were added were from DoD, snapshots that we'd previously seen from DoD data. Not much from FAA, if anything, not from other agencies. Can you speak to why that is and what all you used beyond DoD to inform your report?
Dr. Fox, Dr. Spergel, I'll pass it to you guys.
Sure. So yes, our immediate actions, I think there was such a lot in those questions. So the immediate actions, we've established our director of UAP research. They're working across the whole of government. They're working very closely with Arrow. They are the sort of central point for all of the collaboration. I'm not sure what else you asked, I'm sorry.
What mechanisms are you using to share data and information with the Defense Department?
All mechanisms available to us. As Dan eloquently said, all of our data are open and public. So actually, I mean, we share everything with everybody. So everybody can access our NASA data.
I mean, do you have like a specific repository or mechanism or channel specifically with DoD where you're sharing information? Can you just expand a little on how Arrow and DoD are working? So Arrow and NASA are working so deeply to share things.
Sure. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to handle that. So as Nikki beautifully said, all of NASA's data is open and accessible to the public. If DoD on a specific instance need to tap our expertise, then there are obviously secure ways of doing that, and we've done that by appointing our liaison officer. And yes, we know how to talk to DoD in a classified space. But again, most of what we do is unclassified, and for good reason.
And the answer is actually straightforward, that Arrow is the lead agency in the government. So FAA reported events go to Arrow. So they're the central collection agency, and that actually, if you go to the Arrow site, they have a pretty complete list of things they've analyzed and are trying to make public. But with Arrow, and this is just something I think is worth repeating in the context of looking at images that come from military satellites and intelligence community. It's important to remember that images taken by military instruments are classified, not because of what's in the image, but because of the nature of the measuring instrument. And I think this is one of the unique things that NASA brings here, is NASA is about openness and transparency. When NASA makes measurements, NASA has across all of it does, this program of making its data open and available. And of course, because it's not making measurements with classified instruments, that enables it to do this. And that one of the things that NASA brings to this space.
Thank you. And just a really quick clarification, because I think it's important. The NASA Arrow liaison, is that official the same as your new UAP head of research?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, one more in the room before we go back to the phones for a couple.
Thank you. My name is Jacob Jensen. I work for a Danish newspaper called Berlingske. My question is for Mr. Nelson. You said at the beginning of the meeting that that NASA will be transparent. Well, a month and a half ago, Mr. David Grush said under oath in Congress that the U.S. government is in possession of UAPs and extraterrestrial life. How can you be sure at NASA that other parts of the U.S. government is being transparent?
I don't speak for other parts of the government, but I can tell you NASA, which I speak for, is open and transparent with our data.
Do you believe what Mr. David Grush said, or is he lying?
You would want me to give a personal opinion?
Yes, please.
Of what he said. What he said, if I recall having seen this on the nightly news, was that he had a friend that knew where a warehouse was that had an UFO locked up in a warehouse. He also said he had another friend that said that he had parts of an alien. Whatever he said, where's the evidence?
But he
Is
also-
my
yeah.
response.
Excuse me. He also said that he did interview over 40 employees at the Pentagon.
Long time ago, there was a TV show, Jack Friday, and he used to say, just the facts, just the facts. Show me the evidence.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we will go to the phones. Again, I know people have lots of questions, but I'm going to try to keep us to just to one for each person. And so next person on the phone, go ahead and introduce yourself.
The next question comes from Gina Cesari with ABC News. Your line is open.
This is for Senator Nelson. Your report mentioned that AI could be very useful in helping in this investigation. How do you see that, sir?
Well, why limit us in anything in interpretation of data? And AI is just coming on the scene to be explored in all areas. So why should we limit any technological tool in analyzing data that we have? I said AI was one of the things that we were going to employ.
I mean, we use AI or artificial intelligence and machine learning throughout our NASA science portfolio. It is an amazing tool for helping us to actually find often signatures that are sort of buried in data. And so a lot of our data are just sort of wiggly line plots. We get excited about wiggly line plots, by the way, but sometimes you see the wiggles and you miss a signal in there. And by using artificial intelligence, we can often find signatures. So one example we've had is to be able to find signatures of superstorms using very old data that really is before sort of like routine scientific satellite data, and it's amazing. And so just being able to use those techniques often can allow us to find things, to actually find the needle. As David so eloquently said, once you've actually really it also helps us to really characterize the hay. And so you can start subtracting the hay and look for the needles behind.
So let me just take this moment to try to demystify AI and ML.
Thank you.
When, as scientists, and probably many of you in high school were trained to do this, we had some data. You took your data, you drew a graph, you put a line through it. You had data in 2 dimensions, X and Y. Right now, much of our data is in a much higher dimensional space. And if you're working with something like ChatGPT, it's in a high dimensional space of language, or tokens, if you want to get technical, with 12,000 tokens in the ChatGPT 3.5, for example. And machine learning is a powerful tool for representing functions in high dimensional space. That means we get to work with data in a high dimensional space. AI is very powerful, but it's no more powerful than the data you give it. It's a way of, this is why it's very powerful, say, with NASA's weather and climate data. We've got an incredible amount of data, and it's data that you want to do more with than just put a line on a graph. You want to extract all that information or more information in that high dimensional space. And I think we're just really discovering the power of that tool. And it's one of the tools NASA and not just scientists, but I think a lot of people in a lot of different industries are using to learn new things about high dimensional data. But it always comes back to the data you feed into your analysis, whether it's a line on a graph paper or a high dimensional space explored with machine learning. And if you don't got good data, you're not going to learn things.
I'm going to add one sentence. Sorry. High dimensional does not mean high space dimensions, not interdimensional travel. We're talking about multiple parameters here. Okay. Erin.
Great. We are coming close to time. I want to get two more questions, and we're going to do one on the phone and one more in the room. And hopefully, if we keep our questions short and our answers short, we'll get to those two. For anybody who's here who hasn't had a chance to ask a question, you are more than welcome to send an email, and we will try to get you questions answers as quickly as possible. So one more on the phone, please.
Yes, our next question comes from Peggy Holliger with Financial Times. Your line is open.
Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to ask a question. I'm curious about you saying here that you want to rope in crowdsourcing, but also you speak specifically about the potential of using commercial assets as well as your own. I'm curious about, can you just give me a bit more detail how you will do that? Will that be through commercial contracts, or will you ask for voluntary reportings of sightings? And also, I think that's when you talk a lot about the importance of sensor, I'm going to use the word harmonization, because there's no kind of harmonization between the way the sensors work. Presumably that would be the same for the use of commercial assets. You know, how does that use of commercial assets and crowdsourcing square with the sensor harmonization that you talk about? And who's going to pay for all this? Thank you.
So let me just say a little bit about crowdsourcing. Much of what we have in mind is taking advantage of the fact that there's several billion of these floating around, right? And they take, I'm holding up a cell phone for those on the radio. They take wonderful, high quality images, have high quality metadata, record local magnetic field, sound, gravitational field. There's a wealth of data that a cell phone takes, and you can imagine designing apps that make the images relatively tamper-free. You can at least make it hard to do. And I think if we have a collection where interesting events are collected by citizens, hosted, and you have multiple images of the same event, we will be able to learn a lot. And, you know, one of the things NASA supports is citizen science. And I think that the idea that if you see something you don't understand, collect data, we aggregate the data and we learn from it, is important in this context. And just, I think in some ways, an opportunity to engage the broader public in doing science.
Great. Our last question, please, from the floor.
Thank you all for doing this. Joe Khalil with News Nation. My first question is, you've described harassment of some of the panelists. While that is horrible and never a good thing, it does sort of come with the nature of public officials. You know, Mr. Nelson, as a senator, lawmakers get that kind of thing all the time. Is that the justification for keeping this new position, director of UAP research, private? Do you plan on doing that forever? Is that a temporary thing? Because it seems to cut against the dedication to being open and transparent if this person forever is not going to be revealed, their identity, who they are.
Yeah, okay. So at the time, yes, we are withholding that name. Let's not forget that we've only just received this report. And what we need to do now as an agency is come together and provide a cohesive and coherent response to it that addresses multiple findings and recommendations. Okay, we're only announcing initial actions today. Will that person's name be disclosed, to answer your specific question? Potentially, yes. But again, we need to ensure that the scientific process and method is free. Okay, that's my response.
Thank you. And just lastly, the report says that you relied on unclassified material. You've given a very understandable description for why the DoD classifies certain images and videos. Why did you all not have access to classified material? And could you have, done that?
I have. So just understand that. Let the committee speak for themselves.
So one of the reasons that we restricted ourselves, this study, to unclassified data is because we can speak openly about it. And in so doing, we're aiming again to alter the discourse from sensationalism to science, as Administrator Nelson beautifully said. NASA personnel, as appropriate, know how to talk to DoD on a classified basis, but the purpose of this study was to tell us what open data we could use in combination with the power of science to move our understanding forward. Okay, that was the purpose, and we're speaking about it openly today.
And so one of the
And
challenges you
I'm
talked
afraid we do have to wrap up. We are at time. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. Again, for those people who were not able to get questions, I do apologize for not doing it in the room. However, please send an email based on our press release. You will have information to access, and we will try to get you the answers we can. And with that, we're concluding today's press briefing, and thank you very much for being here.
Wow. Okay. That looks like it. I just did not show the beginning. Look at all the stuff on here. They actually have some pretty cool stuff prior normally. Oh, that's way back there. Okay. Okay, so I just missed the first few minutes. I was actually in an interview with Gary Hesseltine, and so he's done it. He released a new book in February on Rendlesham Forest in the UK, and he's found new witnesses. It was an exciting interview. He has that book out and tons of new data on Rendlesham Forest, which there's a lot more. I didn't realize he says it's actually 4 days. So let's see the actual intro here.
We are here today at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. for a press briefing on a report from an independent study team on unidentified anomalous phenomena. We have 4 speakers here today. We have Bill Nelson, our NASA administrator, Nikki Fox, the associate administrator for the Science Mission Directorate, Dan Evans, the assistant deputy associate administrator for research within the Science Mission Directorate, and David Spergel, who is the president of the Simons Foundation and was also the chair of this particular independent study team. I will ask everybody in the room to.
Okay, yeah, we watched the end of Bill Nelson's opening remarks. I think I can pretty much guess what they're going to say. And yeah, I don't think we're going to have any huge breakthroughs. Okay, I did want to show, so I took while we were watching this, I took the actual report here, and I can show it to you here. So this is the report. You can just Google NASA UAP study. They have it on their website, and you can download this, the independent study team report. So it sounds like from the beginning, and I think we were all kind of disappointed from the beginning of this report, is that it didn't look like they were ever going to release any data, and there's no plan. You saw James Fox. That was probably the highlight for me, is James Fox asking, are they going to, his basic question is there a plan to tell? How would you basically, say you find an extraterrestrial data or craft, you find proof, evidence, how are you going to tell everybody that? Is there a plan for public disclosure? That's what James Fox asked. And no, they basically said that, no, there is no plan for public disclosure. Bill Nelson answers and says, we will be transparent, and that's my promise to you. And then the literal next question is, who's taking over? Who's going to be your UAP director? And they're like, we're sorry, we can't tell you. And then the next question after that is, how much are you going to be spending on this? And they're like, sorry, we can't tell you that. We don't release that information. I mean, that was pretty much, you could just take that. If I was going to make a video about this, if it's worth it, that would be what I'm going to make, is them saying, yeah, we're going to be transparent. And then literal next answer is, we're not transparent. So this is the report. If you look here, it's 36 pages long. So I'll just basically briefly leaf through it. These are the actual people. They were all here at the last hearing. And you remember, it was really Scott Kelly doing the balloon, Bart Simpson balloon, executive summary forward. So I just leafed through this quickly, and then what I did is I did a summary through Claude AI. And what you'll find is, you can pause this if you guys want to read it anywhere in here. If you're watching this later, please smash the like button, guys, and share this information to get out. So here's the intro, and it starts out strong. Recently, many credible witnesses, often military aviators, have reported seeing objects they did not recognize, but they haven't released any further info, just the Go Fast video. They put in this picture of a weather balloon. You're like, okay, great. There's a circular UAP. So I would say, based on what they have in here, so the only cases they reference is the cases that are already on the Aero website, which he's talking about unclassified data. I don't know why. I guess they're just showing this to say that they're looking at something, or maybe they're trying to figure out like what type of data they can actually contribute with. And that was it. And then the acknowledgements. With a bunch of acknowledgements. They talk about the Go Fast video. I mean, that was their one analysis is of the Go Fast, and they take the exact same argument that Mick West made 2 years ago. And did they not look at any other videos? My question to them is, if you have any access to classified data, which it sounds like Bill Nelson does, is where do they get this range from? Because if you look at this example, if you can see this is how they say that the Go Fast is just a balloon, right? The object is just miraculously exactly halfway in between the altitude of the jet and the ground. Okay, that's literally where the object has to be to make this work, right? If it makes sense, you're going around. And the way it works is, the way aircraft work is when you're dropping bombs, etc., is you don't know the wind at the surface of the earth, right? But if you're dropping things, then you have to really know what happens, right? And that's why it's very important. This is why there was a huge change in laser guided weapons. When laser guided bombs came out, it made all of our weapons way, way, way more accurate. And the reason is you're actually guiding all the way to target. In World War II, it would take them like 1,000 bombs to blow up a building. Literally 1,000 bombs. They would drop like 1,000 bombs. Today, it takes 2, right? Because we can put one bomb right on this side of the building and one bomb on the other side of the building accurately with laser-guided weapons, or now GPS-guided weapons. And the number one only reason for that is wind, okay? Because our systems are accurate enough. Like, we can release super accurate. If we knew the exact data between the aircraft and the ground, we could, for sure, make the bomb hit there with all of our current accuracies, right? But we cannot do that. We can't do that. And this bomb would not hit. What I'm trying to explain here is this: you wouldn't be able to hit anything with this, okay? Because you don't have a valid range number. There's no valid range number, okay? There's no my question to them would be, to the NASA people, and Bill Nelson said he has classified data, is ask a Navy F-18 pilot in a skiff or wherever you need to ask it. Ask them where this range data comes from. And I think you're going to find there's no sensor or information that's given that range data. It's getting it strictly from a wind model. And the way wind models work, or the way distances work, at least distances for wind models, is it's just going to extrapolate from whatever the wind is at this level to whatever the wind is at the ground, and then cut it in half. It's going to literally just use the average. And so that's what this reminds me of, is it's just, it doesn't know the distance, right? It doesn't know the range to this actual target. So all it does is it splits the altitude in half and puts the range there. Okay, so that's long answer to be why I think their one report in here is not correct. And I show it in I think one of my first viral video. Here we go. Data on UAP. So let's see what they have. This is their data on UAP section. Status of existing data. NASA collects an enormous amount of data using highly calibrated, validated equipment from a variety of environments and domains across the entire Earth. Could NASA bring the same approach of rigorous science to UAP? Before we can apply the scientific method to understanding an unusual phenomenon, the relevant data must first meet standards for data-driven approaches, okay? And so when I put this in, what you'll find is there's no data. There's no data. For many events, the data and metadata did not enable a conclusive characterization of the size, motion, or nature of the UAP. Yet, where it did, such as in the Go Fast UAP video, the apparent anomalous behavior of the UAP can often be explained by the motion of the sensor platform. Okay, so this is like the one reference. where they're saying this is the data we have, and what I'm saying is, no, you don't. You don't have. That's not good data. Like, you can't go. They say they want to do good analysis with good data. That's not good data. That data that they're getting, that range data, I know as an F-16 pilot, that is not good data, and I know that. And they can go and ask classified where that data is coming from, but their one reference in their data on UAP section is literally referencing their whole argument comes around what I would argue is not accurate data. Okay, it's just not accurate data, and so yeah, I'd have to say kind of a general disappointment with the whole thing. All right, and then analyzing UAP data. I don't even want to read that. Let's go to the summary. So I do have a summary here. Thanks everybody for being here. That was just the NASA UAP briefing. I think we're going to find most, at least on the believing side, are not going to be too happy with it. But here we go. This is to summarize the report. So I put this into Claude AI. It's a free AI. I recommend you guys use it. It obviously makes mistakes, but you can paste in the whole report, which is what I did. So this is what it goes through. Here are some key points about the NASA report on UAPs. The report recommends that NASA play a prominent role in studying UAP within the broader whole of government effort led by the Department of Defense's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Okay, so it's led by the Aero Office, unfortunately, but they're trying to act as a broader whole of government effort. NASA has a variety of existing and planned Earth and space observing assets that could be used to help detect and understand UAP, including satellites, ground-based telescopes, and radar systems. Okay, I think we're asking, where is the data? Current UAP data is limited by poor sensor calibration, lack of metadata, and incomplete data collection and archiving. Yes, even their one example is poor data. NASA's expertise in data calibration, management, and analysis could help improve UAP data collection. Okay, my first question would be, go and check your current analysis that says go fast is a balloon, right? That's your main argument, and check the data right there. So your one case, please just check the data on that one case. Check the range data on the go fast. That would be my question. Artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques could be useful for identifying UAP anomalies within large data sets, but only if applied to high quality standardized data. Yes. Okay. I think we all knew this. And it is true. Everyone's trying to get on the board, even at UAP Society, Sky 360. They're trying to create basically AI. There's so much data. You're talking video data. As a video creator, I'm drowning in video and data and extra hard drives, et cetera, losing videos, et cetera. I can't imagine, terabytes and hundreds of terabytes, et cetera. So I think losing data is a big issue, and AI is really going to just streamline that. But again, only if you have high quality standardized data. And that's what Sky 360 learned, is that you really got to make sure that what goes in is really important, right? Because like I mentioned, the one piece that they're using, the one thing they looked at NASA, they're using incorrect data, from my opinion. Public engagement through crowdsourcing initiatives could augment UAP data collection. NASA could help develop smartphone apps or other tools to gather crowdsourced UAP reports. And I had this thought as he was saying that. It's amazing, citizen science, great. We started a contest UAP on UAP Society, so you can just make a video on YouTube with the hashtag UAP DeSci, so UAP DESCI, by the end of October 31st. If you have any ideas on this, so do you have an idea for developing a smartphone app? Is there an easy way that we could actually crowdsource it? And can you list that out? Actually, how long will it take? Can we do it right away? And how much it will cost? Make a video about that. Make it as short as you can. And then we are giving away $1,000 for first place and $500 for second place if you have an idea. This is from UAP Society. And so it looks like NASA's not going to do it for us, guys. Man, that's what I learned. Citizen science, he said, basically go and do it on your own. Modifying existing aviation data reporting systems like the Aviation Safety Reporting System could enable better UAP data gathering from civilian pilots. This is probably the main takeaway from this. The probably one thing they said that could help us, I believe, and help Americans for safe aerospace. Ryan Graves' effort is to have some sort of reporting method. And they asked that twice, I think, is can anyone make a report? Is there anywhere to report? And so far there isn't. There's nowhere where the US government is actually taking any sort of these inputs. I was thinking maybe that's a good idea, is a worldwide network that could take inputs and then save them. could that happen? That would be awesome. We need something global in reach. Expanding the search for technosignatures from space beyond just the Earth's atmosphere to the whole star system could reveal anomalies suggestive of extraterrestrial technology. I think I'm like everyone else here when I don't, let me know, is that I was thinking, what about on Earth? Like, what about all the ones that we've talked about? What about any of those going back any years? What about like Gordon Cooper, Edward Mitchell? Like, what about these guys? Known astronauts that talked about UAPs. Have any of them even considered it? I don't know. It's hard to brief them because I'm afraid to say anything because that I'll hurt their feelings or something and they'll quit. The report emphasizes the need to reduce stigma around UAP reporting. Yep. In order to improve data quantity and quality, NASA's reputation could help legitimize UAP research. I guess. What do you guys think about that? Could it help legitimize? It definitely helps something, right? It definitely helps the stigma. But improve data quantity and quality. So first would be any data. So I asked again, is there any actual data released in this report? So I asked the AI, and it's like, no. The NASA report itself does not contain or release any new UAP data. It is focused on assessing existing UAP data sources and making recommendations for how NASA could contribute to future UAP research within the government-wide effort. The report does not present any new UAP observations or data analysis. It refers to some previously released UAP videos like the Go Fast video that it basically debunked, but provides no new data releases. The report's goal is more to outline a strategy and framework for how NASA could approach studying UAP using its expertise and resources. So that is basically the report. I could leave this summary up here. Got this. Thanks to Erwin Fletcher, and thanks for generosity. I appreciate it, everyone. So what Nelson is saying is he didn't find it important enough to actually pay attention to what Grush said under oath. His answer alone just shows how little they are taking this seriously, at least in the public view. Yes, I agree. Let's see if, and I missed one from Paul. As I said before, you cannot put the wolf in charge of the hen house. Yes, this is the biggest problem. NASA is just doing the same thing they've been doing for the last 50 years, whitewash the whole subject. Shame on them. I mean, I can't imagine any of those people were read into this program. Have they even spoken to any of those people? I can't imagine. Arrow hasn't even talked about it, hasn't even said that they're taking this stuff seriously. I thought it was a good. Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened there. When Spiegel was asked about the Mexican release of the Peruvians, and I'll just cover it now. Okay, I was going to make a video about it. I took down. I'm losing my video stream here. Sorry about that. I took down my video. It was a viral video, actually. I had almost 100. It would have been well over 100,000 views by now. So basically, yesterday I was live streaming late at night, and then right when I was going to bed, it was like 1 a.m. is when the UFO hearings in Mexico were just getting to the part where Jaime Maussan is releasing, he's uncovering the bodies, So initially watched it, I was blown away. I have come across Jaime in the past at Mega UFO Con, and it was a UFO conference. And I can understand here where if he thinks it's a UFO conference or somehow he treats it like a UFO conference. At the UFO conference I was at, yeah, he played some questionable videos where I was like, I'm pretty sure that was debunked. I'm pretty sure watching it, like, I don't know, that doesn't look super credible. And I actually took that statement out of my video when I released it yesterday. So I released that video yesterday. I had not heard of the previous aliens back in 2018, but it sounds like, at least from many of you. So I do release this stuff, and next time I will go to my patrons first and ask them before I go and release it. I was just so excited, man. I couldn't believe it that they'd done this sort of testing, right? And what I understood is if it's a hearing now, it's not a UFO conference, it's a hearing. then it seems like they would have done better due diligence on the DNA testing, all the other testing, the X-rays, the MRIs. Because to me, if I see, it looks certainly credible. But after Ryan Graves, I saw his post on Twitter, and we can just bring that up now. Sorry, I don't have it available. We can bring that up now. So on X, Ryan Graves is definitely not happy about the statement. I'll bring it up in a second. But I saw him in there, and you could see he was looking straight ahead, and Bob Solis was taking notes. And let me just find uncertain vector here. I can share my screen. Okay. So this is Ryan Graves here. Let's see where he gets to our discussion. He's sharing this already. Huh. Sorry, I didn't have it already pulled up. Mother Gaia. Okay. Well, here we go. This is from Klaus. The big point is Ryan Graves was not happy about it. He was there. And so I'm support him. So I took my video down. I took it off. It's still unlisted. I guess you can probably, I don't think you can find it. But anyway, I took it down. I think because I was too excited about it. And it shows that I think it's true, right? I would love it to be true. I hope it is. I thought that they investigated for the past year, which they said they did. But based off questionable stuff in the background and all your comments saying you don't think it's real, I would say, yeah, could be incorrect. All right, this is from Klaus on Twitter. The alien body segment of the Mexican UFO was paid promotion by Gaia, so it came out on Gaia. The streaming site funded the same exact stunt with Russian scientists in 2017. This was done without the knowledge of speakers attending in good faith. Okay, so according to Klaus, at least it wasn't his idea. At least Graves, I don't think, needs to be involved. Mexican alien. Look, there's a Mexican alien. Okay, well, I can't find it. That was about what his face looked like. So he was not happy. And man, I wish I had that tweet already. There we go. So Ryan Graves, I'm a huge supporter of Ryan Graves. I think the way he's doing it is correct through Americans for Safe Aerospace. And that's why I brought down the actual video. I mean, it does look ridiculous, right? But it seems like we should know very quickly. Like they should go and investigate it. I also should have interviews, hopefully, with some bigger names in the field, UFOs. And it just seems like in the US, the UFO community does not respect it. They don't think it was a real release. So super unfortunate, man. I was so pumped. Obviously, I think that's why the video went viral. I was just so excited. But long story short, based on past releases, unfortunately, it looks like it could easily be fake. At least it could be fake. But that being said, they need to do real science on it and then say once and for all that this thing is like done. Oops, sorry, I missed that. So from Backyard Astronaut, why not use something like the app called Stellarium that even tracks satellites and build on that? NASA hides behind their classified equipment. I totally agree. And my plan is to release my own video early next month or by the end of this month, just to give an example of what people should put in the contest. But that's perfectly it. I haven't built an app before. I tried to code an app once, and it was a huge debacle. Right? I didn't even know what I was looking at. But I've heard you can actually. It's a good idea to purchase apps. You can purchase apps like people aren't using. Say someone has an app, everything works in it, would be a great idea, but it just didn't take off. It doesn't work. But like the technical backbone of the app is there. I think that would be a great idea to like buy one of these apps, offer them some amount of, who knows, because if it's not making them any money, they'll be some people could be happy to offload it. At least they'll make some money for their efforts, right? So you could buy this app, change it, put on your own skins where now it's dedicated to finding UAPs, right? So you could do that where now it's actually focused on finding UAPs. That's ridiculous. I mean, they had the MRI scans. I don't know, but yeah, took it down anyway. But I think that's a great idea for the contest. So anyone who does have ideas, if you have an app, the point is make it directed, because we want to do it right away. We want to take the idea or multiple ideas and take it and go fund it. So build it. We'll use the UAP Society. We'll use your idea, right? We pay you for the idea if you win or second place. And then we'll use the idea, try and crowdfund it. So if it can easily be done, like we can buy this app, we can buy this app, purchase it. We can change it so that now it's looking for UAP data, right? That would be one thing. Is there some sort of recording app that already works and just didn't take off, like a Pokemon recording app or something of that nature? Yeah, the Peru aliens. I think everyone thinks it should at least be driven home to really nail it down to see if it's actually there. I mean, it's just either way. It's entertaining, man. I was just blown away when I saw it. It was like, what, out of hearing, but sensationalism, right? Is this the stuff that NASA is talking about? So this is because by my video, I brought it down because a lot of people thought it was hurting the community. You know that I'm sharing that. So is it like us looking at this now? Is this hurting the community? I think we still need to look into it. Yeah, I kind of agree. We need to share it but then track it down. But I'll stop it. I think that's enough of that. Okay. That was the NASA show. We looked there. It looks like no new data coming out. Ben Nelson said he's dedicated to transparency, and then they asked him 2 questions. The next 2 questions coming out of the office is, we can't tell you. I mean, that was the biggest thing right there. And then they really emphasized data management, data understanding, and how important it is to have accurate data. And then the one analysis they give, literally from GoFast, the one analysis uses incorrect data, which I really argue is incorrect data. Any of those investigators go and talk to one of those F-18 pilots and ask them, where is this range data coming from, and is it valid? And what is the coincidence that it just happens to be exactly halfway between the plane and the ground? Is there really just happened to be a balloon at 13,000 feet that our pilots can't recognize? They can't intercept this thing. Maybe they can't descend. They're up at that altitude, so maybe that is an option. But I would go and ask them. That would be probably the biggest thing. And then coming out tomorrow, so I'm glad I was able to release that information. Let me see if I can find for tomorrow. I need to edit it, but I have a video. I'm excited about it, called Black Ops and UFOs. It goes through 3 cases. So I'll just show you the thumb here. I thought it was awesome. I'll show you the artwork first. Let's see if you guys can guess what case it'll be. So if you see this, anyone have a guess on the case? Someone guessed it last live stream. Okay, so that's it right here. Black Ops and UFOs, secrets uncovered. I'm excited about this hour-long show tomorrow. That'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully I can get it edited in time after this, and then everything yesterday. Any last questions you guys have? Thanks to Hello Ali. Thanks to all the moderators, everyone at UAP Society. Thank you guys so much. There we go. Speaking about Peru. Okay. Yeah, it looked like everybody wasn't really that impressed or happy with the conference, but like they said from the beginning, this is just to figure out how they can find the data. Okay, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow for the premiere. Take care.